Everyone, Joe Dolan here, managing editor of fantasyguru.com. Time for another video breakdown. This time I'm going to be looking at the 2018 incoming running back class, incoming rookie running back class in the 2018 draft. It's a really interesting one, though probably not as deep as we've seen in recent years. A lot of guys who have some problems, so let's get right into it, and let's start with Saquon Barkley. I think it's easy to come up with hot takes about Saquon Barkley because there are some issues to his game. He bounces a lot of runs. There were a lot of negative runs for him in college. However, he played behind a bad offensive line, and his athletic ability is just off the charts. He blew up the combine. He's an accomplished receiver. He's a big play threat. He's incredibly elusive, maybe the most elusive back to come into the NFL since LaShawn McCoy, and he tested way better at the combine than McCoy did. He's an excellent receiver. I think Saquon Barkley's ceiling for fantasy is prime Marshall Faulk, and you might remember Marshall Faulk, the last back to go with 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving yards. It would be ludicrous to predict that kind of season for Barkley since only two backs have done it in NFL history, but David Johnson almost did it in recent years, and I think Barkley has that kind of talent. And the reason I love him as the number one back in this class is even if he doesn't translate well as a runner, kind of like Reggie Bush, in his career, I think his receiving ability gives him such a great floor that he's going to be a big-time fantasy asset like Bush regardless. All you got to do is look at Christian McCaffrey last year. Averaged 3.7 yards per carry, was still a top 10 overall scorer at the running back position in PPR because of his receiving ability. So Saquon Barkley is rightfully going to be the number one overall pick for dynasty leagues. He's going to be right on the fringe of the first round for redraft leagues, depending on where he lands. I think he's an outrageously good prospect. I can't wait to see what Saquon Barkley does in the NFL. This guy has an all-world ceiling. Now, after Barkley, you got guys who are more specialized. Darius Geis compares himself to Marshawn Lynch, and I love that comp because that's who I thought of when I watched him. Though there are some questions, A, about his injuries, didn't have a great junior season compared to his sophomore year, and B, about his third down ability, his receiving ability. But he certainly looks the part of an early down back. Nick Chubb from Georgia, our guy Graham Barfield, compared him to Mark Ingram. I really like that comp. Question about Chubb. 2 years ago as a sophomore, had a serious knee injury. It feels like he's come back. I actually had 2 healthy seasons after that, but his explosion just doesn't look quite there yet compared to where it was as a sophomore. But that explosion has come back kind of gradually. You wonder if it's almost mental at this point. I think Chubb's a great prospect, and he blew up at the combine, which I think is going to help people get really excited about him. Those are probably the two best backs otherwise. Then you get into guys like Sony Michel, who had a great college football playoff, getting some comparing him to Alvin Kamara, though I don't think he's that explosive an athlete, nor that accomplished a receiver. You look at a guy like Ronald Jones from USC, game-changing straight-line speed. Some detractors, like Graham Barfield, will argue his vision isn't that great, though others will say it improved throughout his career. No doubt, though, his speed is a game-changing asset. Rashad Penny from San Diego State, I think you could argue, could be the second best prospect in this class, but there are a couple questions about him. Most notably, even though he's a much better prospect than Donnell Pumphrey last year, why couldn't he beat out Pumphrey for a more consistent role earlier in his career? Might just be the simple explanation of Donnell Pumphrey was a great college player and had done nothing to lose his job, but Rashad Penny is a much better prospect, somebody who I think you could look at and see a Kareem Hunt type of guy. Now remember, Kareem Hunt led the NFL in rushing as a rookie. He was a third-round pick. Now, Ezekiel Elliott did it in 2016. 2016, he was the 4th overall pick, but it just goes to show you these guys come in and can contribute right away. John Kelly from Tennessee. Does this sound familiar? A dynamic receiving back who was underused at Tennessee. John Kelly, different type athlete than Alvin Kamara, but usage was similar. I think people are going to be intrigued by him. I love Nyheim Hines from North Carolina State, one of the fastest players at the combine, just a little bit undersized. Kalen Ballage, close to Barkley in terms of athleticism, but was not even a quarter of the player Saquon Barkley was in college. You have to try to juggle Ballage's lack of production at Arizona State with the fact that he's a great athlete. I think if everything works out well for him. You could see maybe a Tevin Coleman, Darren McFadden type of player from Balaj. If everything doesn't break right, more of a Niall Davis or a Carlos Williams. Not really somebody you're going to get too excited about. There's Royce Freeman from Oregon, Bo Scarborough from Alabama, and Mark Walton from Miami, who was probably primed to be one of the more hyped backs in this class until he shattered his ankle in his final year with the Hurricanes. Did not test well at the Combine, but reportedly has had a much better pro day. He could be one of those late round guys who really outperforms his draft status. For more breakdowns, more guys to talk about, check out my pre-draft rookie report on fantasyguru.com. If you got any questions about any of these guys, feel free to shoot me a tweet at FG_Dolan. I'm always checking that, always responding, and I really appreciate the interaction. Thanks for joining us for these video breakdowns, kind of a new thing here at fantasyguru.com. I'm excited about the future and doing more of these, so check out all of our work at fantasyguru.com. A lot of it is free for the public to read, not behind a paywall right now, including the pre-draft rookie reports.